President Trump's impeachment trial kicks into full gear tomorrow. As we mentioned, Mitch McConnell's resolution laying out the rules is out, and just a couple of hours ago, the president added a handful of Republican lawmakers to his defense team, including Congressman Jim Jordan, Mark Meadows, John Ratcliffe, Elise Stefanik, Debbie Lesko. You may be familiar with many of those names or none. Regardless, let's talk about it all with Alex Vogel, the former chief counsel to Senator Mitch McConnell, backing up late with me on the Final Five. You were not there at a time when you had to talk about impeachment, though.
I was not. Impeachment was a historical event, and fortunately for us, we didn't have to process it.
Let's talk about how this is all unfolding, because this has been, depending on who you talk to on the left, this has been something that has been in the works for a couple of months. Others say it's been a couple of years. Democrats seem to say that they have a case. They just want to be heard.
Look, I think it has clearly been in the works for a long time. There were early moves at impeachment in the House from Congressman Green and others. Obviously, this near-term piece is relatively new. The Democrats control the House. They move through the House relatively quickly, not just quickly, with a sense of urgency. And now the process moves over to the Senate, where the Democrats aren't in control, and lo and behold, people are expecting a different result.
We had a Democratic strategist on the show last week, and let's be honest. This is a far from an uphill battle for Democrats. This is beyond an uphill battle. But the Republicans had the majority back in 1998-99. They couldn't impeach Bill Clinton. So, from that perspective, why do Democrats go through this process if it's going to be a futile effort? And I know as coming from the right, you have a different perspective on it.
Well, I can also put myself in their political shoes. And I would say Democrats, since the president was elected, have been under an incredible amount of pressure from their activists on the left to go ahead and impeach this president. To not do so had now broken out into intra-party warfare that Speaker Pelosi and others were having to deal with. This, as they face a 2020 election, to try and unseat President Trump. So it wasn't so much that they wanted to, even though they knew they weren't likely to prevail in the Senate. I think they felt they politically had to, even though that was going to be the result.
So there was a lot of strategy depending on how you look at this moving in. We know Speaker Pelosi held the articles for close to 3 weeks. One person who's been at the center of all this for just about the beginning of it has been Adam Schiff. You argue that Adam Schiff is somebody who would be a detriment to having on the legal team, on the team here.
I do. I mean, obviously, Mr. Schiff has been instrumental in the House's efforts to investigate and then move through impeachment. And to me, not a wonderful advocate in that regard. If you want to look at someone who's lots of hysterical press conferences, lots of, in this briefcase, I have the smoking gun, none of which ever seem to get there. So to make him the focal point of impeachment again, when they effectively had a clean messaging slate, seems like an unforced error.
I mean, just looking at some of the additions to the legal team tonight, and I know he laid out his case before he laid out the legal team. He had some familiar faces, Alan Dershowitz, Kenneth Starr. Some of these other names, though, Jim Jordan, Elise Stefanik, right. The reason people know who they are, they've been very adamant defenders of this president. They go on Fox News. Jim Jordan has been, he has some histrionics with his own delivery as well.
Absolutely. And what you're seeing is first the president rolled out his legal team. And now is the messaging and political team. I would not expect to see any of these new additions actually arguing the president's case on the floor of the Senate. I think they'll be out there as surrogates and advocates for the president's case. But you're going to see some of this back and forth, and I wouldn't be surprised to see other messaging additions from both sides.
Democrats, by the way, have been really banking on a couple of Republicans checking their base and deciding whether or not if they're going to continue through with Leader McConnell or if they're going to go out on their own. One of them has been Mitt Romney.
Right.
When this resolution came out earlier tonight, Romney signaled that he may not fall the way the Democrats were kind of hoping him to.
There was definitely hope that there is a pool of 4 Republicans. Romney is certainly in that group that people have been looking at who might go with them on issues like witnesses and other things. I saw a tweet just before we sat down tonight from Senator Romney indicating if that move for witnesses was before the House had even made its case, he would oppose it. I saw Senator Schumer out earlier saying they're going to ask for witnesses immediately. So if that was their goal and Romney was one of their targets, they're going to come up short.
But before we go, I'm just curious because you mentioned the issue of the tweet, and I think back to we cover elections post 2012 as being the first presidential election of the social media age. This is the first impeachment of the social media age. We're going to see the drama playing out in the Senate chamber. I'm sure when they can grab their phones, I mean, most of the times the senators are going to be at rapt attention to what's going on the floor. A lot of this is going to play out online.
Well, look, it's going to be fascinating. Much has been made about the fact that they all have to sit there with no phones, no talking, no getting up, on pain of imprisonment. So while staff may be tweeting, I think they'll be pretty careful about implying members are tweeting. No one wants to see their boss get arrested by the sergeant at arms. But it's true, you're going to see two things. You're going to see the TV show of people watching this, and you're going to see the online reaction in near real time.
Alex Vogel will be watching this too. Thanks for coming in tonight. Great to see you again.
Appreciate it.
Back after this in the Final Five.